I think we're live. Hey everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody can hear me okay, see me okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Welcome to Addicted to Gear number 106. And I hope everybody out there is awake. You have your coffee and you're ready for another show today. We have lots and lots to talk about, and I want to welcome everybody that's new in the house or that is going to trickle in a little bit later. We do have some early risers here. Always happy to see you guys. And I know others will be trickling in shortly, so we'll give them a moment to grab a coffee, maybe, just get their morning underway. And welcome to everybody that's new or that's going to be coming in later on that's new to the show. Addicted to Gear, show about musicians, show about gear, music, guitars, amps, pedals, multi-effects, speaker cabinets, speakers, cables, tuners. What else can I throw into the list there? That's basically everything you could imagine. That's basically what we're talking about here, and a little bit more. We like to throw in a little extra from time to time. So I hope you guys will enjoy today's show. We're going to be starting shortly. I just want to say hi to everybody here. I think that there's a few people already here, I can see. And Saint Brando, good morning. Larry, Wayne, Cool Tunes. We got Dan here as well. Fat Philosopher, John, House of Twang, Presley, California Customs, The Nye. A lot of familiar faces. A lot of familiar faces today. Gary's here. Mike, Charles, Christian. Hey, it's a good turnout, and it's it's pretty early too. So I hope you guys are doing good. I'm playing. I got this guitar out today because you've seen this before. I've shown this guitar many times. This is the SE. I play this guitar often, but I wanted to talk about the pickups a little bit today because I finally got time to put in these really great pickups in this guitar. These are no wax pickups, and these are the vintage output classic PAF style pickups that they offer. And I've been playing them a while because I've been recording a video reviewing them. So I've been really enjoying them. They do have that really classic 50s style that I like. I have a little bit of a little dirty channel, a little dirty tone dialed in today. So you can hear that. They sound really nice. So I just wanted to give you guys a little teaser about these pickups in case you're interested in checking them out. You can go onto the No Wax website and take a look at these. They have a bunch of other pickups there as well, but I went for the classic PAF ones because they're the ones that I really like. I have I don't know if I showed you guys this. I have a little brochure here on them. I don't know. That's No Wax, NOWAXX. They got a whole bunch of stuff, as you can see here, front and back. Not just humbuckers, but they have single coils, humbuckers, Telecaster pickups, Strat pickups, bass pickups, the whole 9 yards. So I'm excited to finish up editing this video so I can throw it out there for you guys and you can hear it in all its glory. Of course, the way I'm recording the live streams, it doesn't do it justice, but just stay tuned for that if you're interested in looking at some new pickups. And I noticed that you guys jumped right in today without me even asking about what gear you've been purchasing or what items you've gotten. So I guess you're used to the format of the show because I usually ask everybody what they've been up to in terms of gear. So I know that I'm just going to go back because Tampa Blue says just ordered an EP 339 in Phelan Blue. Have you played one and what do you think of them? So I didn't play the 339. To be honest, Tampa Blues, I haven't had an opportunity to play too many of the new Epiphones, the Inspired By series, but I did purchase a Hummingbird, an acoustic Hummingbird, which is just behind me there. You can see it right there, which I still have to do a review for, by the way. Beautiful guitar, and I didn't expect to like them because Epiphones have been a little bit hit and miss for me. But I think the new stuff, if it's an inspired by version, I think you're gonna really like it. I think they kind of upped the ante with the inspired by line because I think they wanted to make a good impression. So at least the first run of those guitars seem to be very well made. But I haven't played the 339, so I can't give you my opinion on that directly. Sorry. But I hear, I like the 339 models. Definitely like the 339 models. I have a couple of 335 models. And I've been looking at a couple other things that are kind of in the same line as those guitars, as well as an Eastman. Recently, I almost pulled the trigger on an Eastman guitar. The model I think is the T486, and I think it was the SB because it was a Sunburst model. Really nice looking semi-hollow body guitar. That is not a Gibson, obviously, it's an Eastman. But I've been interested in those guitars quite a bit, and one popped up on the used market here, and I came really close to pulling the trigger on that, but unfortunately the seller didn't want to budge on the price. So I kind of like slept on it and then decided to wait. Sometimes that's the best philosophy if you haven't really made up your mind yet, is just wait, Larry says that he traded an 80s Tube Screamer for a tank of gas. Yeah, the gas situation is still not going really well, eh? There's a lot of people suffering with that gas stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't usually take my my truck. I have a Ford Explorer, which is a big truck. Hardly take it anymore. We're putting a lot of mileage on the electric car. Unfortunately, nobody wants to drive gas vehicles anymore. What can you do? Yeah, so you're gonna have to trade some gear for gas. It's not a funny thing. I'm laughing, but it's not a funny thing at all. I think it's hurting a lot of people right now. Raid has a question. He says, I have a question. I'm new to tube amps. I purchased a used Fender Blues Junior from Guitar Center. It hums a little. If I turn my guitar towards it, the hum gets louder, and turns away, it lowers, but is still there. So what you're describing there seems to be a typical case of 60 cycle hum. Now, by any chance, are you using single coils? Because that kind of hum situation is always more evident with single coils. And it's quite normal. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your amplifier. It could indicate that your guitar is not maybe shielded properly or enough. But I mean, if it's single coils, it's quite common. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. Let us know what guitar you're playing there. Surferby says, have you played any Music Man guitars? They seem to compare to PRS as far as play and playability. Yes. Okay, so the answer is I did. If you go back into my videos, I used to have a beautiful Music Man. I love those guitars. They play really, really well. They're built really, really well. They're expensive though, but those are top-notch guitars. And that one I really enjoyed for quite a while. It had a Floyd on it. And the only reason I sold that guitar, the neck felt really nice on that guitar. I sold it because the nut width, this spacing here on that guitar was a little bit too narrow for me. Just a little bit too narrow. So I ended up selling it, and I shouldn't have sold it because I actually got that guitar for a really good price at the time. I think I got it for about $900. And those guitars now, I think they're close to $3,000. So I shouldn't have sold it. I should have hung on to it. But my philosophy is, if I don't bond with a guitar, if it's not being played regularly, it goes on the chopping block. And that one, unfortunately, was one of them. But they're great guitars. If the specs fit your needs, they're great guitars. Here John D says, Hey Tony, just got the Epiphone limited edition 59 in the Honey Burst limited color. I am a big Gary Moore fan. Put in a set of Seymour Duncan custom shop greenies. That's a beautiful upgrade for that guitar, John. Nice selection in terms of pickups. I think you did the right choice there. I'm sure you're going to love that guitar. And did you feel that that guitar really needed a pickup upgrade, or you just upgraded those pickups because it was more the sound that you were looking for? Did you find the pickups lacking? Is that the reason why you upgraded those pickups? Just curious as to why you put in a new set. I'm not judging, obviously. Especially coming from me, I put new pickups in almost everything. So, Eastman. So Quicksilver says Eastman, I feel, is a little overpriced. I distinctly recall when I found a lefty Eastman T486 for about $500 to $600 new, but then suddenly it shot up to well over $1,000. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to get any guitars these days at $500 or $600 brand new. Unfortunately, I think it seems everything's shot up. Man, my dog's really snoring loudly today. I don't know if you can hear it back there. Listen. Hear that? Anyways, yeah, so all of the guitars have shot up. It seems like there's no deals. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are gouging. I don't know what it is. I scour the used market on a regular basis, like daily, even multiple times a day, because that's what I like to do. And every guitar or piece of gear that I was interested in was practically selling above cost. So I recently saw a beautiful fractal unit, the fractal, the version 9, the floor unit that I'm interested in. And the guy was asking well above the listed price. Now, granted, those units are out of stock right now because of the chip shortage, what's happening with the chips. It's unfortunately putting delays on a lot of orders, so you can't get them. So I think he realized that, right now it's out of stock. If you want one right now, you got to pay premium for it. But I'm not willing to get gouged. I'm sorry. If he was willing to negotiate a little bit, I probably would have purchased it. But at that price, I said, no, thank you, and I'll just wait. But other people might jump on things like that because they're just trigger happy and they want the stuff right away, immediate gratification. The issue with the chips and the issue with the tubes has put us in a little bit of a bad place because, unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the economy and what's happening around the world. And the price of everything because of it is going up. So those deals on guitars are going to be a little bit hard to find. And yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow. I agree with you. I mean, I'm used to playing a psychological certain price, and I got to admit, right now the prices are so out of whack that I feel like I'm a little bit confused by what market value actually is. Because if I was to sell a guitar right now, I probably would put it at a lower price, not knowing that the prices are going up, It's almost like you have to put it at a price where you're charging more just to be at par with everyone else. It's weird. But anyways, that's my view on that. Leonard says, it took me over 3 years to sell my Fender Custom Shop Strat, but I did and got full pop. If you're patient with your gear, you'll sell it. If you find the right one, you'll sell it. It's just be patient, Man, I almost pulled my back before, and I think my back is on the verge of going out. I got to be careful today because I'm actually rehearsing with the band today, and I usually carry a lot of gear. And when you carry a lot of gear, you're always, pulling stuff out of the car in weird positions. And I'm telling you, I feel like my back is it's already given me a couple of warnings, just moving funny. I was getting some warnings, so I really don't want to pull out my back, especially for rehearsal. That'll be a bummer. Okay, so let's look at some other questions here. I'm just going to jump down. John D says, Tony, it's very strange how you adjust the volumes in the middle position to get the quacking sound you want, but really is cool. So are you referring to one of my videos? Or is this, John, is this what you normally do? How you normally adjust the volume? I just want to make sure I'm getting the right gist of your comment there so I can respond appropriately. Ed says the new Squires are $600. Yeah, exactly. Previously they were like high fours, I'm going to say, and now they're $6. Inflation is dragging the price of used gear up, unfortunately. D-Max says, question on guitar OCD. I have an acoustic electric that feels out a bit on two-step bends at high E strings at frets 11, 12, and 13. Guitar otherwise plays fantastic everywhere else. Leave it as is, your point of view. So let me just get this straight. Acoustic electric that frets out on a bit on two-step bends. Okay, the high E strings. Okay, 11, 12, 13. All right. Well, before I do anything, this is an acoustic, so it's a little bit hard to adjust the height of the bridge. The first thing I would try to do before I do anything else is just verify the back bow on the guitar. Often, especially now, I find when seasons change, the bow on the neck tends to switch a little bit on you because of either drier climates, more humid climates. So chances are your acoustic guitar also moved a little bit, and it could be that your strings now, the spacing between your strings, the bow on the neck has reduced slightly, so it's more like this. So the fretboard and frets are closer to your strings. That's an easy thing to fix, an easy thing to verify. You can just like hold down the first fret on your guitar. You can hold either the last fret or, about the 17th fret or so. Look at the 7th fret and see how much space is actually left underneath the string. You should be able to slip in, like I don't have the exact measurement, but you should be able to slip in a pretty thin pick between the string and the fret without necessarily lifting up the string. If you have less than that, your action's probably just too low. So try to adjust that first. If you still see that your frets are fretting out, it could also be that you would need to file down some of the frets. Just do a fret level on that. But that's more involved. Often it's just the bow on the neck. Fret Level Midnight says, ridiculous that any Squire cost over $500. Yeah, it is. I feel it is too, but I think this is the new reality right now. I don't think they're going to go away. I don't think the prices are going to go back down, unfortunately. John D says, Tony, go back up a little. Okay. Yeah, back problems suck. They sure do. Let me just go back up here a little bit. John D says, also have an Epiphone 59 in cherry, but left that one alone. All right. Nice selection of guitars I can see there, guys. That's good. Really nice. And John D says, Tony, because I wanted the Gary Moore sound and I really can't get it, and I really can get it, it's amazing. That color was only available at Sweetwater but sold out. Original release, but they just released them and got mine. Doesn't it feel good, John, when you snag that right guitar without having to compromise on the color of the guitar or some of the features on the guitar? There's nothing I hate more than really having bad gas about something and having to compromise where they don't have the exact model you want, so you have to maybe take the guitar with a different color or different type of fretboard or different color finish on it. I don't like to compromise. I gotta say, I'm a stickler. I like what I like, and I try and be patient enough to grab it when I can. Cool Tune says, got my first out of curiosity, the TE70 Paisley Harley Benton with Roswell pickups, tele style for my vacation home in Florida. Impressed for 160 US dollars. Set up well to what? I'm shocked. Why are you shocked? Yeah, I know. Look, the price of those guitars are staggeringly low. Like for 160 bucks, it means if they're selling them for 160 bucks and they're still making money on that, they must be getting those guitars for like 50 bucks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's going directly to Harley Benton with no middleman, but if there's no middleman, perhaps they're getting them for about, I'm gonna say, 90 bucks or something, you know, which means that you can still produce guitars that are relatively good for very low money. So when we're talking about Squiers and they're at $600, you know that they're probably paying 100, maybe 125 bucks for those guitars, Brian, like from the source, right? So they're making quite a bit of markup, that's for sure. Quicksilver's asking, I think, a Mighty Might body question mark. So if you're asking about Mighty Might bodies, those too have gone up in price. I bought quite a few of those Mighty Might bodies when they were still about 100 bucks, 125 bucks. Now they've almost doubled in price. So it's a little bit hard for me to pull the trigger on those bodies now. But from my experience, they're well-made bodies. Sometimes they're a little on the heavy side, depends on what you're getting exactly. But in terms of the routing, the finish, top notch, and for the price that I was paying for them, I thought they were worth the money. Paisley California Custom says, 2 years ago I was getting used made in Mexico Strats off Craigslist for about 250 to 300 bucks. Those days are gone. I remember when you can get an entire, made in Mexico Strat for 500 bucks, 600 bucks, on the used market. Now they're about 8 or 9. So yeah, I know we can bitch about pricing all day long here. Philosopher, I don't think my back problem is a hernia. I don't think so. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you just pull a move and your back locks up. It did it to me twice this morning alone, and I'm like, uh-oh, no good. That means that I'm aiming for trouble. Let me change this guitar up a little bit, because I always play this guitar. I want to change it up. I recently pulled out. Hold on, guys. Since we were talking about hollow bodies, I recently pulled out this one, which is it looks like a Gibson, but it's not. It's actually a vintage, an older vintage. You can tell that it's older because the horns on this model are on the same height. The newer ones, I think, probably due to some kind of threats that they may have gotten from other manufacturers, we're not going to name names, they actually staggered the height of the horns, which I'm not a big fan of. And I pulled this out and was playing it not long ago, and I thought, man, it's a great guitar. Let me plug this in. Probably the guitar will be out of tune though, but let's see here. Yeah, it's a little out of tune. Yeah, it's a little out of tune. I don't remember what pickups I put in this guitar. I know these are not original pickups. Can't remember. Maybe one of you guys can go and check through my previous videos. I'm pretty sure I talked about it in one of the videos. Guys, I change pickups so often I lose track of which pickup is in which guitar, unfortunately. Let me just try and tune up a little here. It is a little bit out. Hold on. I don't know why I don't know why. I can't remember, but I think it's just I go through so many. Let me just and I've been playing this guitar now. I've had this guitar for a while. I really picked it up because it's very close to, I feel, the what you get with you know, a Gibson hollow body. It's the same, pretty much the same specs, guys. I mean, even the headstock looks very similar, except for the top of it. But it's a great playing and sounding guitar. It's even got the deluxe. It's got a nice low. It's got a nice low fat sound on the bridge. The neck pickup has been giving me some problems. I think it's the switch. As you can see, I gotta play around with it before it actually engages. So I need to. Now it's on the neck. So that's the neck. That's the bridge. Not a whole lot of difference in terms of tonality. It's a little bit, obviously the neck. Man, I hate when pickups get, when pickup switches get. I gotta spray some cleaner in there. The mid position. Not a big difference, which is kind of what I like, and the neck is not overly muddy, so it's, I find, pretty nice. Randy says, "Hey Tony, and greetings everyone. Running a bit late today. No worries, buddy. What are you using for headphones? These are Sir SRH 440s. That's what I'm using for headphones." And Charles says, "I don't know about the 2020 models, but I have a LP Junior that I put a Texas Jones TV Classic Filtertron, and it is magic." Doesn't it feel great when you get the right combination of guitar, pickups, and, you know, pots and whatever, and you're in the zone? It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, Fat Philosopher, I don't think it's a herniated disc. If it is, back surgery is no fun. I'm not getting it, like, I'm not getting it every day. You know, just today, I haven't had problems with my back in forever, but today it's been acting up a little bit, so I'm just gonna be a little careful if I can. But you know, these things kind of sneak up on you when you least expect it. It just takes a little, you know, a sudden movement in the wrong direction, and you're done for a couple of days. Yeah, stretching is a good option. Yoga, yeah, yoga is good too. At my age, you got to keep yourself in shape. You know, it definitely helps. Hey, you know, we haven't talked about it. You know, I don't know if you guys, you know, we're usually talking about guitars and stuff here, but I mean, I think everybody's pretty aware of what happened to Taylor Hawkins at this point, especially if you're a Foo Fighters fan. Terrible news, you know. Didn't want to like sink in, you know, like a young guy, I mean, relatively young. He's 50 years old. He's younger than me. And suddenly he's gone, and such sad news. It was hard. Like, I'm not a huge Foo Fighters fan. I like Dave Grohl's music. I like the Foo Fighters. I like some of their songs. You know, I'm not a big fan, but, you know, it's sad to see a guy like him with such great talent. I mean, he was a really good a good drummer. I'm used to talking guitars here. And yeah, he just, you know, one minute you're here, next minute you're gone, and it's sad, really sad. You know, I hate to say it. I mean, we don't know what the details were of what happened to him, except that, before going on to play the show in Colombia, like I think it was just an hour before they were supposed to go on, that this kind of happened. He was complaining about chest pain earlier in the day, apparently. And all we really know is that there was emergency services that were called in, an ambulance or something. And apparently they tried to revive him. So at this point, it seems like it was a heart attack, but we really don't know all the details yet. Unfortunately, the thing is, I mean, we know he had struggles. We know he had struggles with drugs. I think back in 2020 or 2021 or something, he had, I think he overdosed on something. I don't know if it was heroin or what. And he was in a coma for about a week. And at that time, I think he had, talked about after that fact, like he wanted to clean himself up and concentrate on cleaning up his life and whatnot. But from what we understand so far is that some of the initial toxicology reports show that he did have opioids in his system, antidepressants, and all other things, like I think up to 10 different things in his system, which leads me to believe that unfortunately this death was due to another, incident of too much of the wrong substances in your system. Unfortunately, it's really sad because we lost a bunch of people recently. Prince is one of them, Eddie Van Halen, him. There's the list goes on and on. And it's like when somebody dies of natural causes, you can't really, it happens, right? It's part of life. But when something like that can be avoided because of drugs, it's sad. And I feel bad for Dave Grohl too, because I mean, his history, obviously, he lost his other bandmate in Nirvana due to suicide, or what was ruled a suicide. We're not going to open up that can of worms, but at the end of the day, losing another bandmate like that really does affect you. I don't know what this means for the Foo Fighters. I don't know if this means they're going to go on, or if they're going to, pull a Led Zeppelin and decide to fold up and close shop. I hope that they don't, because I think there's still a lot of music that they can produce. But I know it's really hard when you lose a drummer. Look at Charlie Watts recently. I mean, Charlie Watts was the backbone of the Rolling Stones for so long. He wasn't necessarily the most flamboyant drummer in the world, but, he was part of the DNA of what made the Rolling Stones the Rolling Stones. It's hard to replace that. So, a really sad story. I don't know if there was more information that trickled out recently about that. But I think that slowly things will come to light, and it's just sad. It really is. Taylor Hawkins also played with the Canadian artist Alanis Morissette for a long time. I think he was initially in the band when he was about 20, 21, 22. And I think that's the time where she was a lot more edgy in her music. And I think eventually he kind of decided to part ways with her because she was going into more mellow type music. And I think, his style of playing was pretty in your face, aggressive type playing. And I don't think it meshed well. So I think he realized that and decided to move on. But he definitely had a very unique sense of playing. And, it's not easy to be a drummer in a band where the originator of the band is also a drummer, and a good drummer at that. So you have to be a step above. Not only was he a good drummer, but he was also an awesome singer. I don't know if you guys caught the video where they were playing the Queen song, and he left the drum kit and started to sing, and his voice was amazing. So obviously a multi-talented guy, and it's really sad to see him gone. It really is. I can't. My heart goes out to his family as well. It's just crazy. Let's see here. Some people can't fight off their demons and continually play roulette. Dan, I gotta say I'm pretty thankful I don't have any addiction apart from gear, which to me I think gear is relatively safe unless your wife catches you sneaking in another guitar, which, you could be faced with blunt trauma to the head. That's, the risk I'm willing to take. But thankfully, I never actually had to deal with any addiction to any kind of substances, either drugs or alcohol. But I do know people that are struggling with those kind of things, and yeah, it's not the type of thing that goes away. It's something that you have to deal with every single day of your life. It's like, like food addiction, for example, seems harmless, right? But I mean, look at how many people are overweight today compared to the early 50s and 60s. If you look at photos of, speeches that John F. Kennedy was giving back in the day, almost everyone in the crowd was thin. Today that's no longer the situation. So I think a lot of people are struggling with different types of addiction. In that particular case, we're talking about overeating and food, but it's maybe a simplified example, but it's the same idea. People are dealing with these addictions, and just like food, we overdo it, and it's not like one day you're cured and that's it. You got to struggle with it your whole life. Same goes for drugs, same goes for alcohol. Oh man, it's sad. Canuck Aquatropics says, "Hi Tony, I'm in Montreal. I'd like to know how to get in touch with you. You can reach me on my by email. My email is listed, I believe, on my website, addictedtogear.com. You can also send me an email at riplead@gmail.com, RIPLEAD @gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. People regularly contact me, and I'm happy to hear from you guys. Presley, California Custom says, I've always been addicted. Luckily, it's been surfing, hand gliding, race car driving, and weed. Well, all right. Look, we're not here to judge, but I think every one of us has an addiction of some sort. If you dig deep enough, you'll find out what it is, right? But unfortunately, sometimes living too hard and fast, it has repercussions. And unfortunately, I think Taylor was unfortunately stuck in a bad situation. So, yeah. Vox Guitar Rock says, I'm addicted to archery and guitar gear. I'm also into archery. I'm not addicted to archery, but I love it. I do like playing. I do love shooting. Jeff says, drugs are the source of the scourge of modern society. I wouldn't piss on a dealer if they were on fire. Yeah, I think a lot of things could be linked to the drug world. A lot of things, people get caught up into not only the people using the drugs, but the people selling the drugs and everybody that gets hurt along the way. Obviously, we know the story, and, there's no easy solution, unfortunately. Let's just hope that we educate people enough to stay clear of that stuff, and hopefully people are smart enough not to get involved with that stuff. That's one of the reasons why I never really was a big drinker or I don't entertain drugs, because I know myself, and I'm thinking if I would get into that type of things, into those sort of things, I probably wouldn't be able to control it. So it's better to stay clear completely than have to deal with the repercussions. Leo says, do you want him to pay it for you? I'm just going back to see. Tony, are you in Montreal? I still have a parking ticket from 10 years ago. Sorry, dude. I think that parking ticket, if it's still on the books, is going to be quite expensive, and I don't think I want to deal with that for you. I would say if you haven't paid it in 10 years, perhaps you want to stay clear of Montreal. Just in case they come looking for you. Quicksilver says, I was addicted to weed also, but I turned 17 and grew out of it. Well, it's a good thing that you kind of matured enough to sort of leave it behind. I think weed tends to do that. Either you get your fill when you're a teenager, and then kind of, it goes. You kind of move on to other things that are more important in life, or you get into heavier stuff, which is not as good. All right. Well, it's enough about that. I don't want to get into a discussion about alcohol and weed and all kinds of drugs. Um, Even though Tonefish says, how many people died from alcohol yesterday, and we aren't like, damn, we need to fix this. Absolutely. People die in car accidents every day and other things. They just get to the end of their rope. And it could be due to alcohol. And, alcohol, the government is encouraging us to drink and smoke. That's fine, right? But it really isn't. Jeff says, my sister used to work at the festivals in the UK. She loved the foos coming. They would hang out with the staff. Taylor was her favorite. He remembered everyone's name from the previous year. Yeah, he seemed like a great guy, man. And the funny thing about the toxicology report is that some of the stuff that they claim was in his system was kind of surprised me, because some of it was antidepressants. It didn't seem to be depressed to me, but I mean, you can't tell these things, right? But basically, I think the preliminary findings, they mentioned there was 10 different types of substances, including THC, all right, so, probably smoking pot. Tricycle antidepressants, which I find a little bit odd, but then we don't know what he was living, as well as benzoidazepine, and opiates. So I'm not a pharmacist or anything like that, but I find that, the antidepressants, unfortunately, can be, part of the initial underlying problem. People dealing with depression they're trying to get relief using other things. Anyways, let's talk about something a little bit more uplifting, if we can, so that we don't get dragged down into all of this. I wanted to also find out about what you guys are planning for the summer as well. If you guys have you guys seen the documentary that Joe Bonamassa has put out? I think it's called Guitar Man. It's a documentary. I haven't. I've tried to find it just to see, where I can actually watch it. I think it's only on select streaming services, so I haven't actually managed to find it. I'm curious. I like listening to Joe. He's got a lifetime worth of information in terms of guitars. Some people don't like him. I have no problem with him, but I haven't found it. I haven't found the documentary. If you guys could tell me which streaming service has it, I'd like to know. I'm looking to buy my second guitar, Superstrat style. Do you have any recommendations? My budget's $900. I like the Charvels. If you can find a used Charvel, those are really nice Superstrats. Now, I don't know if you're looking for a single humbucker configuration or a humbucker configuration, but usually you can get those different configurations in the Charvel models. The necks are usually really nice to play, and they're still not like super expensive. You can still get them for a reasonable price used. So I would go for that. But there's other models as well. Joe takes a lot of hate, but he's a great player and seems like a good guy. The only thing that kind of irks me about Joe is he never smiles. You notice that? He doesn't seem happy. He's got so much gear. He's got so many guitars, so many beautiful amplifiers. He's living the dream. He's a rock star or a blues star, and he's got the recognition of being a really good player, but he never smiles. Did you guys notice that? The name of the documentary, I think, is called Guitar Man, Rico. Let's see here. What was that? Jeff says she's devastated. Called me up crying. Bless her. I must admit, I shed a tear when I read the statement Roger Taylor put out. I didn't catch that statement, Jeff. What did he say? Huh. We're talking hockey here now. Tony started playing 9 to 42s more. Totally makes me feel heroic. Ben City, do you think I should start stringing up my customs with 9 to 42s rather than 10 to 46s I've been using as standard? Personally, I usually try and stick with 9s. I find 10s are a little bit too stiff for me. I think the 942s are a better match, in my opinion, for me. Now, some people like the heavier gauge string, so I guess it all depends on your clientele. But I tend to stick with the 9s. So it's on Amazon Prime. Okay, I got Amazon Prime, so I should be able to catch that one. I'm gonna put it on the list. Thank you for checking that out for me, Charlie. I appreciate that. And Steve says, I have a Guitar Man. It's on YouTube Movies. Okay, so these are two different ones now. Yeah, it seems to me like he seems a little bit insecure, but I guess, it comes with the territory. If you're always under the microscope like he is, I mean, everybody's sort of nitpicking on what he says when he talks about gear, He probably gets inundated with so many messages on social media and probably private messages, people, criticizing his playing or what, So I understand that. It's not a good place to be if you're in the limelight. Fret Level Midnight says, I can't feel 9s anymore. I actually picked up the Billy Gibbons 7s. I have 2 packs of those strings. I haven't had the courage to put them on any of my guitars yet, but I'm really curious to see how they're going to feel. 7s, could you imagine? You really have to control your bending if you're going to put 7s on your guitar. So Guitar Man is available for rent, $2.99 on YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to rent it. $2.99, well, what the hell, maybe. We'll help Joe buy another guitar. Saint Brando says, my Gibsons are 10s and Fenders are 9s, moving to 10s soon on my Gibsons. I tend to do that too. Sometimes, like I had a period where I was playing 11s, and those were really a challenge because in terms of bending, you really have to work the fingers. Lately, I've been dealing with a little bit of arthritis in the fingers. That comes and goes. Some days are good, some days are not so good. And so I decided to stick with 9s. 10s if, I really get the urge to go up a little bit. But most of my guitars are set up for 9s anyways. So I don't feel like having to set up everything again for 10s. But a lot of people like the 10s. You could also use the 9.5s. That's true, because now they're a little bit more common, right? You can get the 9.5, so you kind of have the best of both worlds. I tried the 9.5s for a while. They weren't bad. I didn't feel that there was that much of a difference, so I kind of just stick with the 9s. So Roger Taylor said it was like losing a favorite younger brother, and it was a great mentor to his son. Yeah, that is sad. So sad, man. Especially since it could have been avoided. I think it could have been avoided. But then again, I don't know their circumstances, so I should keep my mouth shut. Green Rumor says blues players aren't smilers. That's true. Good point. They are supposed to be pulling their feel from their pain. You're right. You're absolutely right. Except a lot of these blues players today, driving around in their luxury cars with their multi-million-dollar bank accounts, Gucci suits, and, $1,000 cowboy boots. It's kind of hard to pull from your pain sometimes. But yeah, I guess pain Uh, pain comes out in different ways for different people, I guess. You know, I guess it could be painful when you're going to bed at night and you're putting your head down on the pillow full of money. You wake up with that stiff neck, you know, it encourages you to make a song about pain. I'm being sarcastic, guys. I know. They're not all the same. Fret Level Midnight says his blues are bland. That's why I don't care for him. His singers sound too synthesized and overproduced, and his playing is meh. So there you go. We have one opinion on on poor Joe right now, right here, and I think a lot of people share that opinion. For me, I get what you're saying, Fret Level Midnight. I think, you know, I like the rawness of the blues, and I think it's true that Joe's product is very slick and well produced, if I can use that term, where it's like there's nothing raw left in it. It's not like I prefer to hear mistakes or imperfections and be able to feel what the artist is trying to portray rather than just listen to the notes and have it super clean and super precise. That's why I'm a big fan of Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page wasn't known for his immaculate playing. He was actually quite sloppy if you listen to a lot of his songs. His solos were never perfect, but he played with feel, you know, and it, to me, that's that made it interesting, you know. And the thing that also made it interesting to me was the fact that he wouldn't play the song exactly the same live. He probably wasn't capable of doing that. He would kind of improvise over the songs in a live scenario, and he, you know, the solos didn't sound exactly note for note the same, which I kind of like, because if you're going to a concert, do you want to listen to the song exactly like the album? If you want to do that, you can just listen to the album over and over again, right? I'd rather go and see what, you know, what their take is, what their take is on that song right now at this very moment, you know. Speaking of that as well, have you guys caught any of the videos on YouTube where you see Michael Anthony playing? They're playing some shows with Sammy Hagar. But the cool thing is that Michael Anthony in these videos is singing. He's actually, I think there's one where they're playing Running with the Devil. I think another one is Ain't Talking About Love. They're doing a whole bunch of older Van Halen songs. And Michael Anthony's singing the songs, and he belts them out quite well. You know, Michael Anthony always had a really good voice. And I think his background vocals in those recordings were a little bit shunned. Like, people don't realize that he was doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the vocals in the band. Dan Smith says, Joe B is probably upset that he doesn't get the recognition that John Mayer gets. Has a lot of gas, though, so keeps him relevant with the vendors. I mean, he's definitely building up quite a retirement nest egg with all those vintage guitars. And amplifiers. Like, I'm sure that collection is going to be worth an arm and a leg. Like, eventually he's probably going to open up some kind of museum or something like that. I don't know. But, I mean, I think he's going to be okay in his retirement, you know. But, yeah, he doesn't get the recognition that John Mayer gets. But at the same time, John Mayer also gets a lot of flack. And I think he also gets he gets blasted quite a bit as well. So, I think those two artists are kind of living a parallel reality right now. Jeff says, I did that with the Sevens, Tony. I actually bottled it and returned them to Amazon before my return window closed. So you didn't put it on? You didn't put them in? I'm putting them in. I'm gonna put them in just for giggles. I'm gonna put them in and do a video, and just see how bad my bending goes out of whack. Fret Level Midnight. So how many of us have actually purchased those Sevens and never actually put them on? There's probably a bunch of guitarists all over the world with a couple of packs of those Sevens sitting around, and they never actually get installed. That's pretty funny. I thought I was the only one. Well, here Gary has the courage to put them on. He put them on his Telecaster. Says he can't feel them. and he generally uses the 8s due to arthritis. So there you go. He says he can't feel the 7s. Yeah, I'm sure they're pretty light. I'm sure you're gonna have to readjust the your neck action on that for sure if you put in 7s. Fat Philosopher says, cut out greasy foods and red meat for arthritis. You might as well just shoot me right now. What am I going to have to live for? Greasy foods and red meat. Come on. You know, dude. I know there's ways to alleviate it, but for right now, I'm putting up with it. I'm trying to make the best of it, you know? Charlie says, Tony, I find the 9.5s work perfect for me on any neck. Give them some time. Yeah, I think it's a question of just getting used to them. I did play them for a while, Charlie. I did, and I didn't feel that they were bad. I just ended up going back to 9s because I had a bunch of 9s still left over here in the house. So I figured, man, I might as well use what I already have before I go and change them. That's the only reason. But yeah, I'm sure I'd be perfectly happy with the 9.5s. Christian plays 10s to 38s. I was playing the hybrid set for a while from Ernie Ball as well, which gave me a little bit of like thicker lower end strings, but now I just went back to straight 9s. So same reason Surfer By loves Jimmy Page. I think there's a lot of beauty in the imperfections in the Led Zeppelin music, you know, where you hear things in the background that shouldn't be there, like the squeaky bass drum pedal from John Bonham. You know, you can hear that clearly. You can hear the plane flying by. You can hear the dog barking. You can hear Robert Plant coughing before the song starts. You can hear the ghost recordings of some of the solo parts that Jimmy Page played. You know, when you re-record on tape, sometimes you can still hear sound bleeding through, and you had all of that in the Led Zeppelin recordings, and that's the beauty of it. You know, just like the Beatles. You know, is it A Day in the Life at the end of that last chord on the piano, they cranked up the gain to try and make the note sustain, because in those days they were kind of limited in what they can do. They upped the gain, and you ended up hearing the air conditioning unit at the end of that, if you pay attention to it. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and that's what makes it beautiful. People rely on like perfection today, you know, auto-tune, sampling, so that, you know, everything's right on the beat. Sloppy's okay. It's human, you know. I think it's just a bad, let's say, side effect of a lot of the over-published artists that we have right now that are they're not discovered, they're kind of created. You know, the companies find somebody, they train them, they take them under their wing, they package them like a product. They give them a cool name, they give them a cool look, they tell them what to play and how to play it. They get the studio musicians that will play the songs with them and be perfect. They hire the best producers to fix everything, and it's really like a nice little package, you know, with a bow on it that you can go into the store and just buy, and you know you're going to get the same thing over and over again. It's kind of like McDonald's. You know, you can go to McDonald's anywhere across the world, and you know that the hamburger is pretty much going to be the same. It's crappy, but it's consistent. And that's kind of what we're living, you know, and unfortunately it's a shame. But I think, at least guys like me, I tend to like the artists that are real. And I'd rather have something that's not perfect, but real in terms of feel. You know what I mean? That's just me. Yeah, Gary Moore was also sloppy, and I love Gary Moore too, you know. Walter Trout, great. If you guys don't know Walter Trout, check him out. A great blues guitarist. he almost died too recently, and until he got a liver transplant, he was on the verge of losing his life, and he pulled through. And crazy good guitarist. If you like, that Gary Moore style, I think you'd probably like Walter Trout as well if you listen to his early stuff. Dan of New Jersey says, I think blues players are so inundated with blues, which is generally minor and depressing, affects the brain towards depression over time. Maybe. I mean, I can't really say. I think, overall, even if you're playing the blues, I think just the act of playing music releases endorphins in your brain that make you feel happy. So it's kind of a juxtaposition of like, you're feeling happy, but you're playing music that's a little bit sad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't consider, let me think here. Like, if I listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan, for example, he's got some songs that are a little bit melancholy. Yeah, I agree. But he also has some uplifting songs as well. But if I play some of the sadder songs that he had, I don't think it would make me necessarily sad. I think I would still like indirectly get a rush. The endorphins would still be released in my brain, even though the music is sad or sadder. I don't know. Hendrix was sloppy. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely sloppy. Michael Anthony was the best singer in Van Halen. I agree. I'm sure he could have done a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the vocals. At least he's on key, right? Like you listen to the stuff that, the last stuff that David Lee Roth put out with his band. The poor guy was like, seemed to be tone deaf. Maybe he wasn't hearing himself in the monitors. I don't know. Give him the benefit of the doubt. But he wasn't accurate in terms of hitting the notes properly, where Michael Anthony was nailing them. Joe did a tribute to Jimmy Page when I saw him. He did a really nice, if you guys watch some of Joe's stuff on YouTube and you're into Jimmy Page or Led Zeppelin, he did a really beautiful sort of his take on Led Zeppelin. He played a bunch of like Led Zeppelin snippets back to back, including Dazed and Confused and all this kind of stuff. He started off with Whole Lot of Love and went into a whole bunch of stuff. Killed it. And he put his own spin on it, which was a lot more precise in terms of his playing, but he definitely killed it. That's probably one of the best snippets of Joe's playing that I like to watch, is because I love watching artists that can play other people's music and put their spin on it, especially something like Led Zeppelin. Could be that Michael Anthony was hired for his backing vocals, including his playing, I guess. Thing I don't like about Bonamassa is that he always sounds angry. His on-stage personality doesn't match his off-stage person. Yeah, it's almost like when he goes on stage, he is like a different person. He goes up on stage with the suit, and he's got the kind of like the Matrix glasses that that you see him with, his hair slicked back, very slick. And then when you see him off stage, he's wearing like a farmer cap, and he's wearing a hoodie and stuff. So it's almost like he's putting on that show for us. You know what I mean? Whereas I think he would do better just by being himself. Some people can't do that, though. They just get too into that whole persona thing that they kind of, it's almost like having a split personality. What else here? Eddie thought Michael was a bit of a freeloader. Yeah, I know, but like Eddie was had his own little thing going on as well. Eddie, there's so many things that I've read about Eddie over the years that seemed to make me believe that he wasn't always very honest in terms of what he was saying. He would kind of flip-flop on a lot of the stuff that he was saying to get it to suit his needs. So yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't know what went on in the band, so I can't really say. But you know, everybody has their point of view. Saint Brando says, "I'll take one Joe B over 1,000 John Mayer anytime." Stevie G wants to know what I got in my hands. Okay, so he probably missed the beginning. This is a semi-hollow vintage guitar that I picked up used. This guitar I picked up on a whim because I was looking for a semi-hollow body that I could bring with me for rehearsals and whatnot that wouldn't necessarily be as risky as bringing my Gibson 335, which I don't usually like to abuse. So this one is sort of a knock-around version of that, which I kind of like a lot. Very nice hardware on this guitar. I did a full review on this, I think, a while back if you're interested. So it feels a lot like a 335. It plays a lot like a 335, and with the pickup upgrades that I did, you know, I have no complaints on this guitar. I'm glad I picked it up when I did, because I got a good deal on it. And I know, like all other guitars that are kind of out today, everything has gone up, so I'm happy I grabbed it when I did. The best time to buy a guitar, guys, is today, because the prices are just going to go up. You know, actually, the best price to buy a guitar was yesterday, but if you missed yesterday, grab one today. That's all I can tell you. Let me just scroll down here. I'm falling behind in the chats here. Frosted Head says, Ed tried to get Billy Sheehan in Van Halen in 1981. I don't know if Eddie really would want somebody like Billy to be in the band. It would kind of take some of the spotlight off of him, wouldn't you think? I mean, he was quite a virtuoso on bass himself, you know? So it's almost like you have to share the spotlight. I don't know if Eddie was actually looking for that. But I mean, I don't know about that. I can't comment. If you're telling me that's what happened, I'm going by your word, but I really don't know. Fred Level Midnight says, really want a Maybach Lester. They look and play better than any Gibsons I've played. Where did you actually try one out? Because obviously they're not in every store. And yeah, they do look amazing. I have a Maybach case, but there was no Maybach guitar in it, unfortunately, when I bought it. So now I'm gonna have to buy a Maybach guitar to fill in the case, right? But I don't know what the prices are on those guitars today. I'm actually scared to look. Does anybody know what the going rate on those Lesters are from Maybach? And I'm not surprised that they play better than Gibson. Ed says, Tony, if you install 7s, would you have to change the NUR? I believe you meant nut. Yeah, nut. It depends. I usually don't bother. I mean, ideally, yes, because you want the nut to fit the strings. If you're going to be playing 7s all the time, then I would say, yeah, you should at least have a nut that's slotted properly for the gauge strings that you're using. But I know that if I would install 7s on my guitar, it would only be temporarily. So I wouldn't bother swapping out the nut. You know what I mean? It would be too much hassle. But if I decided to go 7s indefinitely, then I would, yeah, invest in the time to actually get a proper nut in there. They're about $2,000. That's it. That's not bad. $2,000 USD. All right. So I gotta add a bit more for the Canadian exchange plus shipping, probably duties. So we're probably looking at what? Probably around close to $3,000, probably, right? For something like that. Jeff says, did you catch the Casino Guitars episode boycotting Harley Benton's on moral grounds? Caused a bit of rumpus. I didn't. No. I should. Maybe I should. I feel like the Harley Benton, you know, hoopla is kind of dying down. I know that for a while there, everything was Harley Benton, Harley Benton, Harley Benton. I have a few Harley Benton guitars. I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy the guitars. I still have them. I think they're good value for the money. But then again, if you start getting into the whole argument of whether or not it's right, you know, in terms of where they're sourcing the guitars, how they're building the guitars, what wages they're paying their employees, and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure we can then get into a conversation of a bunch of other companies that are equally guilty of stuff like that, you know. So Fret Level Midnight says he's following a Maybach on Reverb right now that's going for $2,000. Okay, so you're getting it on Reverb. Now, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Maybe it's just me, but the prices on Reverb don't seem to be deals right now. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff that are being sold on Reverb that are used are selling for almost the same price as the brand new ones. So I still have not yet purchased anything on Reverb. I can't. I'm trying to find a deal. There are no deals. So I'm not a Reverb buyer. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't get it. You know, unless you really can't get the guitar anywhere else, then what's the point? You know, if you really want a guitar and you can only get it off Reverb, then I understand you're paying almost premium for a used item. But for me, I don't go for it. So Fret Level Midnight says, no dude, these are real. Looking at one for $2,000 right now in France, brand new. Is that $2,000 euros or $2,000 USD? Because if it's euros, you're gonna be in trouble. Okay, you know what? I'm planning some kind of a vacation soon, and I haven't decided when or where. But I was thinking about it would be cool to maybe work my way somewhere into the States where I'd be able to perhaps go into one of these open houses that they have in some of these guitar manufacturers. You know, maybe pop over to the PRS plant or something, or some other location. I haven't really decided where. But if I could fit it into my vacation, I think that would be pretty cool. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. You know, of course, it would have to be somewhere where it's not too far from at least a nice beach or something, you know. Frosted Head said, I bought a vintage AFD V100. The fretboard was 17-inch and the frets were 12-inch. I had my feeler gauge under the frets. Vintage is garbage. I don't know how that could be where you have the fretboard was a 17 and the frets were 12. That doesn't make sense. How does that work? Unless it was a compound radius situation. I'm not following you. Sorry. Arizona's a little too far. Rico, I'd love to come to Arizona, but it's a little too far for me to drive all the way to. Probably going to drive there. And Ed says, I want the Harley Benton May guitar. Can't afford the real thing. I'm not a big fan of the May guitar, but if you're a Brian May fan, then yeah, you definitely would like to have something like that. I get it. And Alexander says, a vacation in Maryland? Fun? Not. So you don't recommend Maryland, huh? All right. There's nothing to do in Maryland. Doesn't Maryland have some kind of a beach boardwalk scenario thing there? Isn't Ocean City in Maryland? You don't recommend that, Alexander? Quicksilver says, a simple reverb search as opposed to arguing with me will show you I'm right. So, so if anybody's arguing with Fret Level Midnight, just go on Reverb and check it out. Mark says Florida. I've been to Florida already. It's a very nice, beautiful place, but I don't feel like driving that long. So I'm trying to get somewhere between where I am and the closest, nicest beach. You know what I mean? Leonard says the Harley Benton thing this week was about doing acoustic guitar clones, which was stupid as they were compared to so-called original makers who in the first place copied 80-year-old Martins. So basically, it's a clone of a clone. And I guess the argument is who was right originally? A clone of a clone. It's getting hairy. You know what I mean? People are not original anymore. And when they are original, people don't like it. So, case in point, those new Gibson guitars that came out recently that are hideous. Gibson tried to do something original, didn't fly. You know? Guitarists are a funny bunch because they want something original, but they still want what they know and love. You know? So it's almost like, don't change it, but maybe make it a little bit better. But don't change it. But make it better. You know, so it's not an easy thing, man. I wouldn't want to be a guitar manufacturer today. It's hard. So Quicksilver says, "Yup, just checked, 2,000 euros." That's what I kind of expected when you said it was being being sold in Florida. So 2,000 euros, it's a lot. Plus, you're going to be paying a lot for shipping and for duties. So I don't know if that's really a deal. Beavis says, "Come on down to Massachusetts and tour my garage factory. The benches are rocky and the water is cold." Sorry, the beaches are rocky and the water is cold. Yeah. I get you. I love Boston, by the way, Beavis. One of my favorite cities. Been there many times. Next time I come by, I'll let you know. Okay. Okay, I'll maybe swing in for an afternoon. I'll buy you a beer and we'll shoot the shit. How's that? So Frosted had said they weren't seated flush on the fingerboard. That's odd. So you're basically telling me that on that guitar that you had, the frets popped out of the fretboard. Interesting. Could it have been a bad fret job done by someone else? Because that's odd. I haven't ever seen a guitar where the frets pop out like you're describing. This guitar has no issues with frets whatsoever. And this is an old guitar. I mean, I bought this used. Hasn't been refretted. So to me, it sounds to me like maybe somebody did a fret job where the frets were not seated properly, or the type of frets that they were using, the tangs on the frets were too thin or narrow for the slots. And they tried to put them in there and they just all popped out. If you're telling me that was a brand new guitar, then I don't know what to say. We have a question here asking, would you have to reroute the guitar if you want to change a Floyd Special to a better one? You shouldn't have to. The Floyd Specials and a regular Floyd are pretty much the same in terms of the dimensions, so you should not have to. No, as long as it's the same. I mean, you can check to see what the dimensions are. You should not have to do that. If you go with a totally different bridge, then yeah, maybe. So Quicksilver says, which is about 2,200 USD plus shipping to North America, if they ship at all. Colorado is nice. My wife actually wants to move to Colorado permanently. She wants to retire there. Who knows? Maybe I'll end up there, House of Twank. We'll see. And Alexander says, after being in the Arctic for 5 months, go to the Caribbean. You know what? The Caribbean is probably cheaper in the long run, because you go to these places like, you know, I'm just going to throw things out there. Maybe like Myrtle Beach or one of these other beaches along the coast there. I mean, they're expensive. So you're looking at, you know, hotel stays that are going to be probably a minimum $250, $60 a night US and up. So at the end of the day, you can probably go to an all-inclusive with the wife and pay less money, you know? Yeah, I know PRS is in Maryland, but like people were saying, what else is in Maryland? You know? Gary says Maryland has good beaches. All right, cool. And Surfer By says come to Boston, go to Cape Cod and the islands. Like I said, I've been to Boston so many times, you know, I kind of want to go somewhere a little different. So I'm going to see. House of Twang says Mississippi Gulf Coast. So here we go. Fret Level Midnight says there's a Maybach Leicester right now on Reaver for under $1,700. Well, Fret Level, if you tell us, it won't be there for long. If you're coming across some good deals, I would snag them. I love you guys and everything, but if you're looking for a guitar and you want to grab a good guitar for a good price, I wouldn't tell them here until you actually pull the trigger. Just a little tip. Yeah, the Martin factory might be cool too, but I don't know if I would want to go to Pennsylvania. Maybe swing by somehow. That would be cool. Maybe I could actually set some points of interest along the route and see where everyone's located. I don't know if everybody is having these open houses now. I know that PRS announced on their website when COVID started that they weren't going to be doing open houses, and I don't think they've started again. All right, so Fret Level says it's not euros. Okay, so that's good. That's good. I'll check it out later on, Fret Level, but I'll look into it myself after the show. I'll give it a little... I'll take a peek. Maserati Nation says, ever have seller's remorse just to find your same guitar for sale 5 months later? It happened to me. I sold the Yamaha LS16 ARE acoustic and it came back to me. I have buyer's remorse or seller's remorse every time I sell something. Every time. Even if it's a guitar that I feel is not up to par with some of my other guitars, I always feel that when I put a guitar for sale, if somebody else is interested in it, I must be missing something. You know, if somebody's really after the guitar, I'm like, wait a minute, if he really wants that guitar, maybe I'm missing something and I shouldn't sell it, you know? I haven't seen a guitar that I've sold pop up on the used market again. I haven't seen that, but I have seen gear. Like I have seen pedals and stuff that I know are probably mine. I recognize them and they do pop up from time to time, but I'm okay with that. A guitar is a little hard to swallow. You know, it's like especially if it's a guitar that you actually liked and then it pops up on the used market like a week later after you sold it. Yeah, I can see how that could hurt. But if you really like that guitar and you have another opportunity to buy it back, you know, maybe it's a sign. What have you guys sold recently? So Frosted Head said, I turned that vintage AFD V100 into a super guitar. I removed the fretboard, replaced with a rosewood board and genuine mother of pearl inlays stainless steel frets. So there you go. You did that yourself, or did you pay somebody to do that, Frosted Head? That's a big job to do that. And now I'm sure it's a beautiful guitar. Probably plays wonderfully, doesn't it? EF says, just bought an Epiphone Les Paul Standard, brand new from CME, first Les Paul style guitar. Fit and finish was really good. A little fret sprout that mostly corrected itself after a few days. Nice, congratulations on that. Nice. You know, you can't really go wrong with the Epiphones. I mean, if you don't want to buy any other brand that is a little bit more expensive, Epiphone is perfectly fine. Paul's got a good point. He says, look at modern violin. All musical instruments start out with various shapes, etc., and eventually become distilled down to one. It has nothing to do with cashing in. It has to do with what works best. Yeah, I mean, you hone in on the right formula, right? It's a question of feel. It's a question of practicality. It's a question of being able to build the guitar for a reasonable amount of money. If you go too crazy and what you're trying to build isn't feasible, it's going to cost a lot of money. So yeah, you're right. It sort of gets distilled into sort of the best formula. Saint Brando says Quebecers go to Wildwood. That's why I'm not going to Wildwood. Cheers. Got some. I need some water. My voice is getting harsh here. All right, guys. Let's see. We've been yapping for about an hour and a half. I'm gonna pull the plug in about 4 minutes or so. So you guys can ask some questions before we actually wrap it up here. I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom here. All right, guys, you don't have to like argue over stuff. Come on, you know what I mean? Let it go. It's all. We're just talking gear here, you know. No point in arguing. I sold a '93 G&L Assat a few years back. Regretted it, but needed to pay bills. Something you have to. But now I want it back. Yeah, I did that too with an original G&L Legacy. That was a really old, like an original one that came out. The first runs that they had was a really great guitar. I should have kept that one too. I can't keep all of them, unfortunately. And Jeff says, I sold a Victory 2x12 cab this week. I was feeling proud of myself for actually selling something. My wife just said, what are you buying? She knows you well, Jeff. Because that's usually what ends up happening, right? You end up selling something and now you're like, what am I buying? I do that all the time. That's why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because I'm the same. And Saint Brando says, happened to me, sold the Telecaster Custom, then saw it for sale again, but wasn't able to purchase it. Yeah, that hurts. That's painful. Enrico B says, from PRS website, at this time PRS Guitars remains closed to the public and factory tours temporarily suspended. That's exactly what I saw too, Rico. Yeah. So it doesn't look like they're opening up again. And also Martin factories aren't doing tours are also. So I don't know. It sounds like my vacation is going to be a little bit more boring. Addicted. So Quicksilver says restrictions are being lifted in Chechnya. No more masks except for public transport and hospitals. So I'm planning on taking a factory tour of Maybach and pick up a Lefty ES. So if you pick one up for you, let me know, Quicksilver. You can pick one up for me too. I'll send you the money. We'll talk. And Frosted Head says, Nova Scotia, I hear the lobsters are frozen. I want to get out of Canada. So I'm looking at going somewhere else. Fred Level Midnight says, I recently got a StewMac 300 grit compact file, want a 150 grit to match it. Those files, they come in really handy. I still have to buy myself a really good set of fret files. I've seen them over and over again. It's just like I want to buy the whole complete set. It's just that they're still pretty expensive, so I'm making do with what I have. But maybe I'll put on the Christmas list. And EF says, I was thinking of replacing the bridge and tailpiece with a Goto with brass saddles and aluminum tailpiece. Any input? What can I tell you about those? I mean, the Goto stuff seems to be pretty good to me. Make sure you don't buy a knockoff. Got to be careful when you buy stuff off eBay. A lot of times you think you're getting an original, but sometimes you're just getting a knockoff. I like the brass saddles. I think they work nice. I have Telecasters where I've replaced the regular saddles with brass compensated saddles, and they seem to work pretty good. Aluminum tailpiece is always nice. I don't have any other things except just make sure you buy quality parts that fit your guitar, because sometimes, you know, the nuances of the dimensions are critical, and if you're off by, you know, even half a millimeter, sometimes it just won't fit. So and Quicksilver says, when I reached out last year, they said no tours because of COVID, but their site also says to reach out for lefty models. Maybe there's a distributor dealer involved when placing an order. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Quicksilver. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to be wrapping it up. So it was really a pleasure once again to be able to spend a really nice Sunday morning with you guys and just shoot the shit when it comes to gear. Always appreciate doing that. I always love doing that. That's the best part of my Sunday. So unfortunately now I gotta like end it and get to stuff that's not as interesting for me, unfortunately. Such is life. But I'm always happy to see you guys. I'll take one last question here. Maserati Nation says, any suggestion, any soldering gun you recommend doing my pickup swap for the first time, and what material do I need to solder? If you're going to be doing a one-time soldering job, there's no big point in buying a really expensive soldering station. If you're going to be doing it often, then it's good to get a temperature control station. You can pick one up for about, I don't know, anywhere between 150 to 300 bucks, depending on what you're looking at. The advantage with getting those soldering stations is that the temperature is steady. So you can set the temperature according to the solder that you're using, so it melts quickly, it doesn't overheat the components, and doesn't risk damaging the components, okay? Those are the best ones. They're more stable in terms of temperature. That being said, if you're just doing a one-time pickup swap, you can go into a electrical supply shop where they have a whole bunch of components and whatnot, and you can buy yourself a straight plug-in type soldering iron. They're not that expensive. You can get one probably about anywhere between 25 and 40 bucks. They will have different power ratings. You can get anything from like 30, 40, 50, 60 watts. For me, and the type of solder I use, I usually end up using a 60 watt iron because it melts the solder really quickly and you don't have to overheat the components. That's the key. Don't keep the soldering iron on the component longer than you need to. Just melt the solder and that's it. Get it off there. Otherwise, you risk damaging stuff, all right? Time to take the dog for a walk. Exactly. That's what I'm going to be doing next. So, guys, stay tuned because next week is going to be another show. I'm probably going to try to have a special guest. I've been trying to get the guest on the show. We're just trying to get a good time to actually sync our schedules, but it's going to happen soon. So that's going to be something that I would like you guys to pay attention to. I'm also going to be putting up the great review that I'm going to be doing on the no wax pickups that I have in my PRS here. That should be posted sometime this week. And I'm also going to have some other goodies and surprises for you guys, so please stay tuned to the channel, all right? Other than that, guys, stay safe, stay well, enjoy playing music and your gear. Till next week, we'll chat again, all right? Take care, guys. See you soon.